Design Society is a truly pioneering project, the first of its kind between a British museum and a state-owned Chinese company. The V&A was originally invited by China merchants to participate in a new initiative to establish a cultural platform, a cultural institution in Shenzhen. And then it was decided that this institution would be focusing on design as its main area of interest. And I've been seconded in the city for the last 3 years to supervise the collaboration between the V&A and China merchants Shekou.
Right from even before the V&A was founded, the relationship with China was already there. And then in order to create this story of applied arts from right across the world, some of the earliest collecting took place in China. So from then right up to kind of recent decades, we've had a very strong relationship in China. And for the V&A to do its first really ambitious international project overseas, China seems like a very good place to do that. The creative industries are at their most dynamic in the Pearl River Delta, and Shenzhen, as one of the biggest parts of that kind of megacity, is where the design world and creative industries in the round are developing very, very fast.
Shekou 是一个神奇的地方。40年前，这里响起了改革开放的第一炮。从当时的小渔村，到中国第一个现代化的产业园区，我相信，这儿也会是深圳设计的主场，是一个能给各位带来启发和灵感的地方。
Although Shenzhen is a very young city, it's very rich in creative momentum. It's a lot about making things. It's a lot about recombining components to make new things. That kind of mindset, meeting the mindset of, let's say, the sophistication of a museum culture from Europe on that highest level of the V&A. That's actually a wonderful adventure.
The Shenzhen scene is fast-paced, very dynamic. There is still a great kind of emphasis on manufacturing here, but an increasing emphasis on design. But it's a very, very kind of rich culture to be able to observe, and a great place for us to use our collections to almost put a mirror up to that very fast-moving kind of scene and to talk about values of design at the same time as that design ecology is moving very fast. As a founding partner of the Design Society Foundation, our input covers a huge number of areas, but first and foremost, advice. We're there to provide advice and support to lend 165 years of experience and know-how to help this new institution emerge and to give it a good grounding for its first few years.
Design Society is a building in SeaWorld, which is a neighborhood of Shekou in Shenzhen. And it includes many different spaces. The exhibition areas are mainly on the ground floor, where we have the V&A Gallery, the main hall, where there is now an exhibition made-in-Digital. And then there is a small exhibition space that is now devoted to a retrospective of the architect of this building, Fumihiko Maki.
We are very honored to be able to work with Maki and Associates, and I like so much the relationship he creates between the indoor spaces and the outdoor spaces, between the building and the city, and between the building and the landscape. And at the same time, and the building has lots of public spaces, so it's really making this building very alive.
So this project started for me 3 years ago with a very simple brief, which was to be given a space here at Design Society and to curate a gallery. So the V&A Gallery is called Values of Design. It's a show about how we measure the value of things and then how things project or produce value. So it's a real sweep of the entire collection. It looks at 150 years of collecting, the kinds of objects that we collected. And it tries to say that design itself is neither good nor bad inherently, but it's the values that we project onto design that will determine our material culture and the world around us.
So we're using objects from the V&A permanent collection, of course, to tell that story. 200 objects, historic, contemporary, international, Chinese, supplemented by 45 acquisitions that we've made in the last 3 years as part of our research from in and around Shenzhen to tell a story of design that we think will be particularly relevant and particularly inspiring to a Shenzhen creative community.
We've been the exhibition designers, so we've been working very closely with the V&A with Brendan, the curator, to try to find, I guess, a sort of spatial material arrangement of how to organise the curatorial themes and how to make that as something which can kind of communicate, I think, with a broad audience. So the show is organised around 7 values, so that kind of presents like 7 different arguments as to why design is important, or how we use design, or why we do it. The design of the show, I guess, tries to sort of manifest those ideas, which sometimes are quite conceptual or quite sort of abstract, into something which is really much more visceral, much more kind of immediate.
When visitors finally come to the gallery, what they can expect to see is a real microcosm of the V&A, so a real cross-section of what you might encounter if you were walking through the V&A in South Kensington, in London, but in a more compact setting.
There are 2 major sides to my role. One of them is working really closely with Brendan, the curator of the Values of Design exhibition, to ensure that the exhibition content is relevant and accessible to different audience groups. The second side of my role is, again, sort of researching and understanding local audiences in order to develop a learning and public programme for the gallery. What we've tried to do is use objects in the exhibition as a stimulus for learning, whether it's talking about ethical issues or it's about helping people to understand the design process. So a session will usually involve discussion and activities in the gallery to really interrogate those objects and understand them.
This is a big building, there's a very generous space, there's lots of room for people to come and interact, to talk, discuss, show off, create, make. So Design Society in that sense is more a platform for design exchange.